Welcome back and thank you very much for your time. Let's say happy birthday to Gabriela Aram Aklasu. You're 2 years old today, Gabriela Aram Aklasu. Your parents wish you a happy birthday and we wish you that you grow well and stay strong and live long and leave an impact in this life. It's your birthday as well. Happy birthday. But yesterday, we put a question on our Facebook page on TV3 Ghana asking you what myths you have heard about coronavirus and whether or not we can help you clear it. Well, we've been joined via Skype by a senior medical officer with a police hospital. He's also a doctor, Dr. DSP Faisal Ayembillah is joining us all the way from UK via Skype. Doc, welcome and thank you very much for your time, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Johnny. Good morning, Ghana. And good morning to our cherished viewers.
The myths about coronavirus, I'm sure you've heard too many of them. One that is around us these days is that coronavirus cannot do very well in these tropics, in this heat. In fact, Dr. Asari at Kolebu had mentioned that in the early days. Is it true?
Anyway, you see, Johnny, when it comes to a disease that takes us all by surprise and causes such international embarrassment, you would obviously have lots of myths regarding the etiology and how it should spread. Initially, honestly, I was part of the school of thought that, you know, in the warm climate, the virus wouldn't be able to survive and all of that. But then current evidence shows that that is not true.
Okay.
And that is not, because even as at last night, we've had over 636 cases in Ghana. And Ghana is one of the hottest places you could ever be in. So it's not true.
Okay.
We used to wish, I mean, in the beginning that it was true, but that's not the case.
Drinking alcohol, hot alcohol, like akpeteshi, does it flush out the virus?
No. Once again, this is something we wish we wish were true or were the case, but it's not true at all.
Okay. Spraying alcohol and rubbing chlorine on your skin, how about that?
Oh no, that is a very bad one, and we have to entirely debunk it in no uncertain terms because it's led to people scarring their skin and causing all sorts of skin problems. Chlorine on the skin, no, it's corrosive and it's not the best way. It wouldn't necessarily prevent you from getting the virus.
Let's drink lime in very hot water with a bit of honey. It will kill coronavirus in our system. True?
You see, I'm giving very political answers, I know. You know, well, I've been in this medical journey since 2006, and we are not entirely dismissive of, you know, home therapy and things that we grew up taking. We are not dismissive of them.
Okay.
But as we speak, we don't have a particular cure. We cannot tout any particular remedy as being the cure for coronavirus. And so if you take in the lemon, ginger, I'm very sure that would help boost your immunity in a way. And so, yeah, it's encouraged, but that would not cure the virus. Even recently, I heard Sobolo.
Yeah.
People say Sobolo would cure the virus, but that's not the case, no.
Hot pepper soup.
Oh, Johnny, with this pepper soup this morning, you're making me miss home, eh?
but people are postulating that. People are saying that if you take hot pepper soup, the pepper will finish the virus.
No, not at all. I think the best thing the pepper will do is help you get a good sweat so that when you go under the fan, you would feel good and happy about life. But that, of course, would not be the panacea to the virus. It wouldn't solve the infection.
How about drinking salt water or bathing with the brine water?
You see, for example, let's say health workers. I mean, as a health worker, if I should get back from the hospital, it would be good to take off your clothes and wash them. It could be just normal running water. It doesn't have to have any saline content.
Okay.
And so, yeah, but that, of course, will not take care of the virus itself.
How about steaming your face with neem tree or enjoying some neem tree sauna?
Okay. You know, like back in the day when you had malaria and your mom would the neem tree and put you in with the blanket over.
Does it solve corona?
No, it won't kill corona. It won't kill corona. Corona is turning out to be a very, very difficult virus. It's turned out to be a virus that is very slippery and difficult to treat at the moment. So at best, if you were to do the neem tree sauna, well, that would be some sort of natural way of boosting your immunity, but it's not a cure.
If you have had malaria recently, some say then you are safe. It's just like if you have had one chicken pox or measles in the beginning of your life, then towards the end, you possibly cannot have another. So if you have had malaria recently, you are safe, you are immune.
No, you see, Johnny, that's the same thing that happened when this virus first came in. We thought that probably the flu shots will give you some protection and some immunization to measles and chickenpox, as you mentioned, will give you some protection. Even as of yesterday, people were talking about tuberculosis, the fact that if you've had a TB vaccine, it will give you some protection. But all of these, we don't have the evidence to support.
Okay.
I mean, even as at in the higher levels of research going on in the world, we still don't have the evidence from the US. We don't have it in the UK. And so all those have been debunked at the moment. Malaria infection would not protect you from getting the coronavirus.
If you're a young man or young woman who does a lot of jogging, physical exercises, you are safe. It cannot come there because you are strong. So corona is afraid of you. It can only kill young people and older people, babies and older people. True?
You see, when you have a... Okay, let me start with the answer false. You see, when you have a disease that is so variable, a disease that is mild in one person and so serious in another, then you cannot be complacent. You know, when this thing first came out, WHO said that 2% of the people, that is 2 out of 100 people who have coronavirus, would lose their life. But as at yesterday, we have an increase in that percentage. It's currently 3.4%. And so even though being young, exercising, staying fit would help you boost your immunity and prevent you from getting the infection, it doesn't mean that the fact that you are young and active, you wouldn't get it at all.
Okay.
We've had cases of 13-year-olds who've had the infection and have unfortunately passed away.
Wow.
So it's not true. We are not invincible, as the WHO Director General says.
Okay. So if you live in a cleaner environment, you are safe. You're working from the UK and helping to treat a few persons who have coronavirus. Does a clean environment necessarily shield you from COVID-19?
It helps. It helps. You know, it's the same argument we have with staying at home. For example, let's say I enter TV3 studio and then let's say I touch a microphone, you know, and then I'm gone. And let's say I'm infected. I would leave my viral particles on the microphone. Okay. And then let's say the microphone goes to Bella or it comes to you, Johnny, and to Fiakwa, as they would say. And then the virus gets into your respiratory system. Then you get the virus as well. The coronavirus is able to last on wooden and metallic surface for up to 5 days. You know, and so, yes, up to 5 days you touch, let's say, this piece of wood behind you. And 5 days later, someone comes to touch it and he has the virus. So, yes, some level of personal hygiene would help and an cleaning environment would help. But, of course, the main thing is avoid handshakes, social distancing, stay at home.
You need to drink a lot of water, we are told, so that those bringing out the myths, so that once the virus lands in your throat, you can flush it into your stomach and then wee it out or poo it out. Is it true?
No. And that's just because of, you know, anatomical considerations. The food pipe is in front. The windpipe is just behind the food pipe. And so you may be led to believing that the water you're drinking is going into your respiratory system, but that's not the case. And so it's false.
It's false.
Yes, it's false.
Some say there's nothing we can do up until we find a vaccine. And so all this talk about being cautious and washing your hand, it won't help. Is it true?
Johnny, it would help. It would help in the sense that it would, you know, the problem now is that we are trying to prevent it from spreading from one person into another. Okay. We are trying to prevent it from getting from, let's say, father to son, mother to daughter, and things like that. And so once we stay home and keep our social distances, if I have the infection, hopefully I would cure myself without giving it to the next person. And so at this moment, in the absence of a vaccine, that's the very best we can do to observe social distancing and prevent person-to-person spread.
Okay. 5G, is it a cause of coronavirus?
No. No, not at all. You know where this thing came from?
No.
You know, we have different types of radiation. For example, if I were to request that you do an X-ray, I'd be exposing you to some level of radiation. And so everyone thought that 5G was a form of radiation that could damage human cells and then predispose us to getting viruses. And then there was the other theory of the virus being deliberately created and all. But that's not true, because the 5G radiation itself is pretty much not different from the current mobile radiation we have. And so that theory has been debunked as well. It's not true.
Okay. Doc, a few of our friends on Facebook have been asking questions. And the first one from Mary Wilson said, second, is it the youth, if measures are not taken well for the youth, cause another headache or problem because the youth are the future leaders of Ghana? The youth can help. Okay, so this is explaining. It says, Godkey Mauli says, TV3 Ghana, citizens are leaving affected areas. Okay, this is not a myth. And I can't seem to see. So the 5G question just got answered. Somebody's asking, is it true 5G is killing people? And then they are planting antennas in there. And so is there a kind of food that you can eat to prevent you from getting coronavirus?
Well, we have the type of food that would give you, will put your immune system in the right position to fight the virus. And at this point, we are advocating lots of fruits and vegetables, especially good sources of vitamin C. And I must say, the regular Ghanaian diet, the one we've been running away from for so long, is actually very ideal in this time. The kontomire, the fruits we have, the oranges and everything. Yeah, those are the things we should be eating at this point to help boost our immune system.
I see. Interesting. And the vitamin C tablets and the soluble ones, some say once you take it every day, you're preventing coronavirus from getting in there. Is it true?
It helps to boost your immunity. You know, Johnny, I like to use this example. Imagine if you were to drive your car to the car wash.
Okay.
The fact that you sent your car to the car wash doesn't mean that it would be cleaned. You know, they have to apply the water on it. And so the very best you can do now is to boost your immunity. But the fact that your immunity is boosted does not mean that you will not get the virus. It just means that you are ready. Your body is ready to combat the virus should you, unfortunately, contract it.
John Bada on Facebook says, please, can someone who just recovered from novel coronavirus still get the virus again if he or she fails to observe the necessary protocols? And by this, I'm sure they are asking silently for many others that, okay, if you have gotten it once, can you get it again or you can't get it again?
That's a very good question. Preliminary evidence we've had, I mean, from my current, where I'm studying currently, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, you know, lend some credence to the fact that once you've had the infection, you should have some immunity to the virus all over. But then now, as at yesterday, there was some evidence coming in from the US to say that we have about 3 or 4 different strains of the virus, and then the virus is, you know, dribbling its way through, and the virus is mutating and has caused about 3 or 4 different subtypes.
Okay.
And so as it stands, we believe, yes, if you've had the coronavirus once, you should not get it again. But the evidence, of course, is not conclusive. So I would say this is 90% true.
Okay. Is it okay to, some say it's not okay to take gifts from China because that's where the virus originated from, correct?
Well, not just China, anywhere in the world now, you know, this is a very bad time to be a blogger from any part of the world at the moment because the virus has such high prevalence in the West and in other areas with temperate climates. And so what we would say is if you get a letter from outside, if you get some packaging from, let's say, the UK or from China or any of these affected countries, you would want to dispose of the packaging as quickly as you can. And then whatever the contents are, if you can clean it up, that would be the case. The theory hasn't been dispelled yet, but that is not a very efficient route. But there's some truth to that myth.
If I get sore throat, somebody's asking on WhatsApp, does it mean I have the virus?
No, because there are about, even if off the top of my head, about 10 different causes of sore throat. But of course, if you do have sore throat, a dry cough, and then your temperature goes beyond 38, then that would be a cause for worry. But then maybe the sore throat is as a result of anything else, any other illness.
Can anybody get the virus? That's what Favored Eagle is asking, if you use the same toilet facility with an infected person.
You see, recent evidence says that the virus is shared in fecal material. But just because the virus is shared in fecal material doesn't mean you would get it. For example, let me use HIV as an example. It's in the sweat, right? But then if I hug a person with HIV, I will not get the virus from the sweat.
Okay.
And so research continues at this moment to find out whether that's the case. But as I speak this morning, it's not true.
The effective treatment, I mean, for those of you out there in the UK, they say your recovery rate is quite high. The effective treatment there, what's doing the magic?
Honestly, what does the magic is is with regards to the equipment we have. You know, Johnny, we've had this discussion in the studio where, some couple of months ago, we had arguments about quality of care. The doctors are the same. I mean, I'm the same doctor from Police Hospital. I'm here to study for 2 or 3 years and get back to Ghana. But then when I go to the hospital here, we have more to work with. We have more ventilators. We have more drugs to use. And the main problem with coronavirus is the fact that people are unable to breathe, in the very acute, in the very critical stages. And so it's just a case of having more equipment to work with and not necessarily better knowledge per se. But then the equipment is more over here, obviously. But then, of course, even with all the equipment we have in the UK, we're still having problems treating a number of patients.
Okay. Can mosquitoes spread the virus?
No.
Why not?
Not at all. Because it's not bloodborne, Johnny.
Okay.
It's not bloodborne.
So mosquitoes cannot spread it. Houseflies too.
Even mosquitoes cannot spread the older bloodborne viruses like HIV and hepatitis. So on this note, I think coronavirus is also spared.
Okay. All right. Well, Bella is here, Tanam is here. Let's see if they have their own myths that they would want to toss around you.
Mine is not a myth. I just want to ask, what's the difference between collecting samples and testing with the coronavirus? What's the difference?
Okay, that's a very good question. Collecting sample has to do with getting the human tissue you would want to examine. I like to use examples a lot. This analogy, let's say buying food and eating. Going to buy food has to do with getting to the restaurant and taking your food, which is the sample. And then eating it is actually when you put it in your mouth. So in this case, collecting the sample has to do with, it's very uncomfortable. We literally use a stick, go all the way through to the nose, trying to hit the back of the nose, and then we swab. And then with that sample, we take it to the laboratories, Noguchi, KCCR, and then they run it with their machines in what we call the PCR, polymerase chain reaction, to try and see whether the virus is there or not. And so the sample collection is getting the sample, and then the testing is actually what is done in the laboratory.
So at what point do you use the test kits? At what point do you use the test? Is it when you are done collecting the samples? Is that the point?
No, we actually collect the samples and then we send it to the laboratory, and then the laboratories run the test with the test kits.
Okay, so how many test kits do you need on one sample?
Usually you would want to take 2. Okay. You would want to take 2 samples usually, and then have them run for the definitive results.
Okay, and how long does it take for us to get the results?
The issue now has to do with logistics. The biggest problem is with personnel and with getting the test kits ready, running the machines. So I believe from the information I get, I stand to be corrected, but the information I get is it could take up to 72 hours back home in Ghana. In the UK, we aim to give a result within 48 hours. But then it's the same everywhere in the world. Because the demand is so high, testing is so difficult to accomplish at this time, especially at the community level.
All right, Doc, I quickly want to ask this as well, because I've noticed that in the US just yesterday, the FDA has approved a saliva test for coronavirus. Yeah. Now, initially, they were doing the, what do you call it?
Swab.
The pharyngeal, I wanted the scientific...
the nasopharyngeal swab.
Nasopharyngeal swab. Now, I mean, I'm just wondering what the difference is. I do understand that the swab is when you take it all the way down to your throat. But then was it not the same as wanting to take someone's saliva? Because I know that the sputum is where someone also coughs and then they take the sample from their mouth. And so why are we separating it? Should it not all be the same way of taking samples from patients?
You see, that's a very good question, Bella. With sample collection, the main problem has to do with feasibility and how comfortable the procedure is. As I explained to you, we literally put, I don't have any, it's maybe too graphic for morning TV, but then we actually get the swab through the nose all the way to the back of the throat to pick up the sample, which is very uncomfortable. And so even in children, I know in the pediatric units, usually they would encourage them to put in some water and then they gargle a bit and then bring out the sputum as a cough it out, as you did mention rightly.
Yeah.
And so with the saliva test that was, I think it was announced yesterday. That would be very helpful because they have noticed that some viral particles may be shed in saliva as well. Bella, the biggest problem now is the fact that this virus, we don't know it. It's pretty embarrassing to say this, but then we don't know this disease, we don't know this virus, and it's very strange that out of the blue, you would have a virus that is so new. And I think that's why they call it the novel or the new coronavirus.
Yeah.
And so all the information we get is on a pay-as-you-go basis. This is not a virus that has been studied extensively. So everyone seems a bit confused about the evidence that we have at the moment.
Okay.
No, that would make it easier. So then we would stop sticking up the sticks through the nose and we'll just take saliva sample.
So does it mean that we do have some organisms in our throats that may not necessarily be in our saliva? Is that what this means?
Yes. That's what it means, because when you look at microbiology, when you talk about bacterial colonization, it's very possible to have organisms, let's say, on your tongue. Candida is one of them. You may have it on your tongue, and it may not necessarily be in your nasopharyngeal region. So yes,
I see.
And we're exploiting this on a physiological consideration to try and see if we could get a sample from the saliva. So yes, that's what you said is absolutely right.
Bella is scared, obviously, but which is the most?
Bella is a scientist,
but which is the most effective methodology? Is it a swab or the sputum?
At this moment, the swab.
Okay.
At this moment, the swab is the most effective because it's primarily a respiratory illness. When you start to speak of sputum, then you are moving. Sputum, saliva is shared between the respiratory system and the gastrointestinal system as well, phlegm, mucus, and all of that. So specifically, the best results would be from the swab. Swab. Yeah.
Great. I want to ask a very final question on a myth that, bank notes, for example, if you pick them and you iron them, you are safe. Is that correct?
At this point, all the banks advocate that we should do as much as possible, as much as we can. We should remain cashless at this point, do online shopping and all of that, because there's a risk that the virus could stay on the banknote for up to 5 or 8 days. But ironing the notes would also cause some damage. I'm sure the governor of the Bank of Ghana would say no to that, and so we wouldn't want to be ironing the notes. But yes, as much as possible, if you can, just go around with your ATM card, or possibly do lots of online shopping at this time, because the theory remains that money could actually be spreading coronavirus. It's strange to hear that money is actually spreading a disease, because intuitively, that should be the opposite, but that's what we have in this time.
Doc, I thank you very, very much for your help this morning. It's been very educative and insightful.
Pleasure is mine.
Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Do have a blessed day as well.
Okay, so that's DSP Dr. Faisal Ayembillah. He's Senior Medical Officer with the Ghana Police Service Police Hospital.
I need some help.
I'm confused.
What? Like how I was asking about the organisms that live in the throat that may not necessarily live in the mouth, because you swallow your saliva and you produce more. I hear the doctor is still on.
Doc is still on, by the way.
I'm just still trying to wrap my mind around how I have something on my tongue. If I swallow, then I'm guessing that I'm swallowing it into my throat, so it should be transferred.
I think he said it's a respiratory, because it's respiratory.
So the virus will find its way into the windpipe.
All the time. Okay, with the virus, with this.
Well, with anything generally, I've generalized it to try to think. So if it's on my tongue and I swallow, it can be transferred into my throat, into my stomach. So is that not transferring the organism into other parts of my body as well?
No, because at this point, distinctively, the throat. We all feel like where we eat and where we breathe is, anatomically related in a way. But then the throat is in front, the gullet, the food pipe, the esophagus, and then the airway is behind. So the only connection they have is, at the back of the throat, where there's a bit of mixture of sputum. So what you are saying is only correct, partially correct. But then for some organisms, it's possible it would be in the saliva and not in the nasopharyngeal passage.
The digestive juices in your stomach have no power over these things?
Oh, it does. The digestive juices in your stomach are able to, even dissolve razor blades. But just because coronavirus, that's why every 5 days your stomach has to change lining. Every 5 days your stomach
every
has to
5 days?
Yes, your stomach has to
changes housing.
Yes, it changes the housing of.
Okay, we're getting a bit technical, but I'm curious. How does this happen?
But the issue with the coronavirus is it's in the respiratory tract.
Okay.
It's where we breathe. It's not really where we eat.
Right.
Okay. So the virus, we're told not to touch our faces, our nose, our masks, and all of that. So assuming I touch an infected surface, and then I touch my lip, the virus gets in there. First place it wants to go is into my respiratory system and not into my stomach. Is that it?
So let's talk it practically. You touch your lips.
Okay.
It would go through here.
Ah.
It's more likely to go through here than here.
Ah, okay.
Cholera would go through here.
Okay.
But then the coronavirus is more likely to go through here.
So what? Like the virus walks, it can locate your nose. Like
it goes through the membrane. It's the droplets. You know.
Okay.
The
I do understand.
The droplets.
Okay.
But how does it know that? Okay, the
This
nose
is
is
nose,
up
this
here,
is
so
mouth.
I'm not supposed to enter your mouth.
Viruses have to adapt. They have to live. So they are also adapting and know how to move into the respiratory
Okay,
tract.
now this is scary.
We need to
Wow.
look for this
The droplets
virus.
would actually have to move through the respiratory tract. That's very true.
I see.
Interesting.
Okay, Doc.
God,
We thank you. Stay safe
Thank you very much.
and keep
Pleasure is
saving
mine.
lives.
Yes, greetings to all of us.
All right,
Okay.
take care.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Surviving virus.
The virus can find your nose.
Yeah, we'll find your
Interesting.
nose, find your windpipe. Anyway, Nary Franks on Facebook. That's our Facebook Live, by the way, so you can join us with your comments. Ghanaians will come out furiously to work if the government continues lockdown in the specified areas. Frank and Kaswa, don't try it. I love you as a brother. Don't try it. By the time the slaps land, you may not be sure where it came from. Yeah.
Especially when you're hungry and you don't have any energy.
Yes.
Imagine taking that with a slap.
You will swing. Don't try it, Frank. We love you, okay? Haruna Yusuf Mubarak says, Mabruk. Good morning, Ghana and TV3. This idea of food sharing is cosmetic work by our leaders. Momo Alert would have been the best option to curb this issue of overcrowding at our various food distribution, which also serves as hotspot for the spread of the deadly virus. How do we send Momo to everybody out there?
No,
but
you
you
have
know-
the Momo, how do you buy?
Thank
Because
you.
you're home. You can't step
Where
out.
do you buy from?
Where do you buy from?
Yeah.
But you know the suggestions made by the Africa Center for Energy Policy, that's one of the things that they suggested. And theirs was in connection with the cost of electricity.
Okay.
Because they're saying that we should have really tried to understand who is a lifeline consumer.
Right.
Because if we did that, then we would realize that they're the ones who actually need the electricity,
Yeah.
the
Right.
free electricity.
Yeah.
So we won't extend it to just anybody and everybody. And so that way we could save like 2.1 million Ghana cedis. And that could be sent as Momo to the people who actually need Momo,
But even
like
for-
the truck drivers and all of that. And they even they pitch it as like 200 Ghana cedis per person. And so they also suggested that there could be a way to send money to people who actually
Well,
need it.
that's a novel idea. I mean, my church is sending mobile money to poor and vulnerable in the church.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that if I am poor and vulnerable, and we are about 6 tenants who use 1 meter, and we are all lifeline beneficiaries,
Yeah. How
and
do
then we put our
benefit?
monies together to go and buy credit at the end of the week or at the end of every 2 weeks, our threshold would have gone beyond
higher.
lifeline. So how does IES's idea capture me?
But
Because
that's what-
genuinely, I deserve to be giving the subsidy.
But that's what they are saying,
Yeah.
that if we had really taken our time to understand, we do live in a community where there are lots of people who live in compound houses, and we understand that some of them even pay what? 50 Ghana cedis contribution.
30 Ghana
or
cedis
30.
sometimes, 20.
And so those are the real lifeline. Unfortunately, they had to combine their money because they're using 1 meter.
Right.
And so it ends up being like maybe 200 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
So
Right.
unfortunately, they don't fall under the lifeline.
But
if you
then
look at what the
somebody
president said.
who
But
also
they
has
could
a
have-
single meter, who has maybe a couple of people in the house, can come and say, well, I have these people as lifeline. How do you verify that?
So
No,
that's
I
what they're
think
saying, that they
except-
should have verified those things, because if they
Except
go
major-
into the machine, it'll be easier to identify which people live in compound houses, how much are they all contributing. So that means that if I'm buying electricity, 20 cedis every 2 weeks, I am a lifeline consumer, so I
Absolutely.
deserve it, because
Absolutely.
I can't afford having my own meter
I think
in the first
ASAP's, when you
place.
read their statement, ASAP's major concern is the fact that we're giving power to people who
people who
can't
already-
afford it.
Yeah.
Because if you do the calculation, we're spending $1 billion dollars or cedis every month, on electricity. And don't forget that we already owe IPP some
Yeah.
$1.5 billion. So I mean the energy sector is reeling under a lot of debt, and so what we are saying is that let's ensure that we don't give power to people,
people.
especially the industrial sector
Because if
workers.
someone is
so
using
they're asking
maybe-
for a cap.
Exactly.
Do you
Someone is
understand?
using maybe 25,000 Ghana cedis electricity a month,
Yeah.
or 50,000 Ghana cedis, because some commercial companies may use 50,000 Ghana
Yeah.
cedis.
Right.
Government is saying that we're going to support you with a 50%.
Is it for
absorption.
commercial?
Well, yeah,
commercial
it says some
Yeah.
residential
50
and commercial
Yeah,
as
some
well.
commercial, yeah.
Exactly. So if I'm using 50,000 and government is saying I'm going to absorb 25,000
How many poor
of
people
that,
could
Which
that
is
have
too
helped?
much.
Exactly.
You know, so
Because
So
the
they
poor
do have
people
a
will
point.
not
There
get
was
one.
the stimulus package, but some of these companies may
Might
get the stimulus.
May get,
so
yeah.
now you're
So why are we
benefiting from what the poor
supporting-
is getting, and
Yeah,
then after
and
it's all
then
said and done,
and it's
you get a
it makes
package
sense.
as well.
You
It
should
makes
look
sense.
at that,
But
yeah.
still, we don't have the modalities from ECG as to how they intend to push this through. We still don't have the modalities.
I was hoping they'll talk about that
Yes, yesterday, but they didn't because it was actually announced. It was advertised, but we still don't have it. And Ghana Water Company has also stepped forward to tell us where the poly tanks are in the communities, how those who don't have taps in their homes and have had to count on the tanker services, where they are getting their water from.
Well, I think the
those who have
ECG
shut their pipes to people who come and fetch from them and who are holding on and saying that it's my pipe, you can't fetch. We have not dealt
Right.
with those issues. So
Absolutely.
the thing is that we have given people water for 3 months, but people are not getting it. And mind you, people have reservoirs that they can fetch this free water, keep it, and trade it some other time.
I think the ECG has been too silent. I mean, their silence is too loud.
Yeah.
We want them. William Boateng is not picking up his calls, so we're hoping that you will come out and tell us how this whole thing.
Oh,
is
he's
going to
our
be
friend,
working.
so he will pick up. But
We want you
happy
to make our
birthday,
calls.
happy birthday to Gabriela Enam Aram Aklasu. Sorry about that, Gabriela Aram Aklasu. You're 2 years today. It's from your father Gershon and your mother as well. Happy birthday to you. We'll see you after the break.